Hi everyone, this is Jason from Metal Flesh. Today I will rank the entire Immortal, Demonaz and Abbath albums from Get in the Bin tier all the way up to From Here to Eternity. From its album release I will pick up two highlight songs. I will try to stay away from the actual hit songs. We are going to kick things off with 1992's debut release by Immortal called Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. This album is raw and primitive that mixes early black metal with noticeable death metal influence. The production is extremely rough and the songwriting is less refined than later albums. The freezing / cold atmosphere and the dark energy is already part of the Immortal sound. Some songs feel chaotic and undeveloped, but this album has got a historical importance. Highlights for me will be The Call of Winter Moon and Blacker Than Darkness. It's a strong release. I'm just going to put it on a B tier. The following year we see the release of Pure Holocaust. This one is a massive improvement and one of the defining Norwegian black metal albums. The riffs feel colder, faster and more hypnotic. It creates almost non-stop blizzard atmosphere. The production is still raw, but it works perfectly for the style of the music that Immortal is playing. The soundtracks though feels like they blur together slightly, but apart from that it's a very good follow-up. Highlights for me will be The Sun No Longer Rises and Pure Holocaust. For me this one is a From Here to Eternity release. 1995 we have the release of Battles in the North. This one is perhaps their most extreme album. The speed and aggression are pushed to insane levels, making the album feel like total frozen warfare. The production is harsh and chaotic, which adds to the entire atmosphere, but sometimes it hides the riffs. Highlights for me will be At the Stormy Gates of Mist and Battles in the North. For me that is an A tier release. 1997 we see the release of Blizzard Beasts. This is a kind of feels like underrated album that introduces more technical riffing than the usual Immortal song structures. The production is dry and harsh. A different way I can describe this, the production feels like the band is recording in a tent in the top of a moon in the middle of a blizzard storm. That's the only way I can describe the production on this album. Besides that, the production does hurt some of the songs. The entire album feels less immediate than the classic, but still there is a lot of energy that makes it interesting. Highlights for me will be the amazing Mountains of Might and Blizzard Beasts. Unfortunately, due to the production levels, this one drops down to a C tier. 1999 we see the release of At the Heart of Winter. This one is a masterpiece, my all-time favorite album by Immortal. Here the band slows things down slightly and focus on huge riffs, epic songwriting and great atmosphere. The cleaner production helps the riff sound massive while they're still keeping the cold feeling intact. Nearly every song is memorable. The album flows perfectly from start to finish. Highlights, I could easily pick the entire album from start to finish. It's all killer, no filler. I'm just gonna go with Withstand the Fall of Time and At the Heart of Winter. For me, this one is From Here to Eternity. I'm just gonna put it in front of Pure Holocaust. In 2000, we see the release of Damned in Black, a shorter, more direct follow-up that keeps the riff's heavy sound while increasing aggression and speed again. It may not feel as grand or atmospheric as At the Heart of Winter, but the energy is fantastic and the songwriting still remains strong. Comparing this to At the Heart of Winter, it's faster and more aggressive. Production has slightly started drifting back to the old type of Immortal production sound. The highlights for me will be Triumph and The Darkness That Embraced Me. I'm just gonna put it on a high B tier. I'm just gonna put it here. Right, 2002, we see the release of Sons of Northern Darkness, one of the greatest black metal albums of the 2000s. I remember the day this album came out. This one balances very well the icy atmosphere with the heavy metal riffing, and we have got some memorable songwriting here as well. Abbath sounds incredible throughout the album, and the album feels confident and powerful from beginning to the end. This one is more polished and better balanced than Damned in Black. Highlights for me will be In My Kingdom, Cold, and Tyrants. I'm just gonna put it as a high A tier. I'm just gonna put it right over here. In 2006, we see a side project called I. The album is called Between Two Worlds. This album manages to mix black metal with classic heavy metal and some rock influences here and there. The riffs are catchy, the songwriting is strong, and the album has a fan/heroic atmosphere. Some black metal fans or fans of Immortal, dislike this album or this style of the album. They disliked it, but personally I do enjoy this one quite a bit. The highlights for me will be The Storm I Ride and Mountains. For me, this is a very strong release. I'm just gonna put it on a A tier. 2009, we see the release of All Shall Fall. This is Immortal's comeback album after several years away. It keeps the epic, riff-heavy style of the early 2000s while adding a darker atmosphere and slower pacing. So basically for me, this is something between At the Heart of Winter and Sons of Northern Darkness. Not every track reaches the classic status, but the songwriting is consistently strong throughout the album, and the production sounds huge. Highlights for me will be All Shall Fall and The Rise of Darkness. For me, this is a strong B tier release. I'm just gonna put it right here. Then we've got the Demonaz first solo album. It's called March of the Nords. Demonaz steps into the spotlight with an album deeply connected to the Immortal sound and the Norse mythology. The riffs are cold, melodic, atmospheric, with strong Viking feel throughout. The album, personally, from start to finish, is absolutely fantastic. I even enjoy Demonaz's singing voice as well. Highlights from me will be A Son of the Sword and Under the Great Fires. I absolutely love this album. It's going to go from here to eternity. In 2016, we've got Abbath's first solo album, which it sounds very close to the classic Immortal sound. I'm not sure if this album was written while Abbath was still in Immortal or not. It does sound quite similar to the Sons of Northern Darkness era. The riffs are memorable, energetic, and full of icy hooks, while some songs feel quite similar to each other. The sound, the album sounds inspired and confident. Highlights for me will be Root of the Mountain and To War. For me, I'm just gonna put it on a like a B tier album. I'm just gonna put it right here. Then we've got Immortal's return with Northern Chaos Gods in 2018. Now this is the Immortal that is led by Demonaz. This album is strong, that reconnects with the classic Immortal sounds, especially the epic riffing style, and the album manages to capture this cold, icy atmosphere, and personally this album flows from start to finish so nicely. Highlights for me will be the amazing 10-minute long epic Mighty Raven Dark and Northern Chaos Gods. For me, this is a strong A tier release. I'm just going to put it right in front of Between Two Worlds. In 2019, we see the release of Abbath's second album called Outstrider. This one feels more varied and more experimental than his debut album. It manages to use the heavy metal influences with a black metal / Immortal sound. The songwriting feels less straightforward. Some tracks are excellent. A couple of other songs which are slightly more uneven. Personally, slightly less better than the original debut album. Highlights for me will be Harvest Pyre and Outstrider. I'm just going to put it on a C tier for now. In 2022, we've got Dread Reaver, released by Abbath. This is his third studio album. It's fun and energetic with strong heavy metal influences and memorable riffing. Abbath sounds more relaxed and confident here, and the album has great personality. A few songs still feels formulaic, as if they're using the typical Immortal formula, but overall it's an enjoyable and consistent album. Personally, out of the three Abbath's solo albums, for me personally this one is his best one so far. Highlights will be Dreamcall and Acid Haze. For me this one comes up to a B tier. That brings us to War Against All, released in 2023. This is another strong Demonaz-led Immortal release that delivers exactly what fans expect: icy riffs, cold atmosphere, and powerful songwriting. It doesn't reinvent the band sound, but it maintains high standards, and it feels more inspired than many late career black metal albums. Comparing this to Northern Chaos Gods, it's similar but not as good per se. Highlights from me will be War God and No Sun. I'm just going to put it on a B tier. I'm just going to place it in between the two Abbath albums right here. So there you have it, the entire Immortal, and Abbath's discography, ranked from getting the B tier all the way up to From Here to Eternity. Till next time, stay metal.